let's get going. We have ourselves a scenario here where we've for a second day of rally, and you have to be asking yourself at what point are we back to fair value, right? Are we back to fair value on things like the dollar yen, as if North Korea didn't happen, but the weak CPI had happened. Now that's the question. And if this weak CPI is being ignored, are we in the middle of actually a US dollar correction here? And if that's the case, where should dollar yen be, a bit more fairly? Above 111 or below? Okay, now probably above, given the size of the US dollar rebounds against the euro, against the pound, against the Aussie dollar. I would suggest that the dollar yen would have been above 111 by now, and what we've seen here is a nice rebound in the dollar index, and it probably looks like it's going higher there on the dollar index. So I'm going to let that dollar index trade run. This sort of big sell-off in the market, if you get that, and then you get a little rebound and then a higher low, that's really strong sort of signal that we are going to have a test high here. So these little previous levels are the first thing that have to go. Once they've gone, we can talk about next levels, and the same with the euro, right? The euro, in terms of where it's at, it's got to break its own little bit of support in the lower 117s. Then you can talk about moving back to some of the previous levels. 116, 30, 20 will be initially on the cards if we do get that. So 116.20ish. Previous support that probably people will be looking at if we get down there. But the pound's on the move, and the Aussie dollar broke 78.50 earlier, so it's also on the move. Now its big level of support is between 78 and 77.60. That level was where the market held so many times last year, and so now that little 77.50 to 60 level is going to be the major support, and that's where I'll be looking to re-engage longs now. I didn't actually mind re-engaging longs earlier today before it broke down. If you were long, then you just close out. But yeah, no, it's you got to respect the strength of the US dollar here, and they'd look to buy it a little bit lower. I think it's probably just a 1 to 3 day event, this US dollar rally correction, and not a multi-week event. But still, you got to respect it and don't get caught. Don't get caught when the market turns. It could be the case that the euro doesn't come back up right after it goes down again. It's just the way the market is. It evolves into a bit of a US dollar rally somehow. But yeah, so that's the way I'm playing it. Long dollar index. Long euro yen is my favorite way of playing the yen. I think I probably don't need two here, so I'm going to get rid of the least profitable one and just put my stop to entry here. If it goes back down, then something's wrong. Either the euro is falling very quickly, or the dollar yen is struggling, and stocks maybe have come down, or North Korea or Trump has said something silly. But right now, risk does look very much on, and you basically pick your poison. I bought DAX at the open a little bit high, got a little bit keen, a little bit. I thought it's begun. The rally has begun. It could still easily begin, but got to be a little careful, because you see something, you trade it, and you're pretty sure it's going to be okay. If it goes back here below 21.50, I'll probably close. Just not because I don't think the DAX is pretty good value down here with the euro falling, because as the euro falls, it becomes a bit cheaper, the DAX, relatively to other currencies, so other indices. It's just the I don't know where it's going to go next. The move was supposed to be straight continuation rally, and if you don't get that, and somehow stocks in the US don't go back towards their 2200, and now that North Korea is out of the way, then there's something else at play, and you've got to be careful. So I don't mind playing the DAX though. It was the most heavily hit in the past couple of weeks, and it has the most to rebound. But we'll see how it plays in the next few hours before, say, or during the US Open session, and that will decide whether to cut this trade. But other than that, I'm happy to play long dollars just for the short term, see how far we go, and I'm happy to, if I wasn't, I'm happy to sell the euro, but I'm not in that. I'm definitely happy to be long dollar yen still, and I just want to see how much sort of momentum the market can get. The market's caught a little short on the US dollar. It's obvious after the price action after that US CPI number was sort of bottoming sort of price action, catch you on the other side of the market here. You just have to sort of be able to respond to the price action. The last 2 days have been very key, very much giving hints that this was about to happen. And now that it is, with the North Korea backing out of missile testing Guam, you know, it's not just that, right? It's not that that's really what's happening here. It's the US dollar, you know, that's crushing everything at the same time, and that's pretty hard to stop, because it's just you've got too many currencies that are breaking key supports at the same time. But we'll see. Dollar yen's got a pretty big one between 110.80 and 111. That's not going to be easy pickings for it to get past, and that's you know, how I'll be playing just next 3-4 hours anyway. And what happens in the US session if we can't get past 111? Okay, maybe time to settle down and take some profit on the dollar index as well. And same if you're long dollar yen, or if you're long the euro yen and dollar yen can't get past 111, just be probably sitting to the sideline. Hope all that makes sense. Doesn't need a reason. Doesn't need a reason, because there isn't one really for this. Yeah, of course, dollar yen's going higher with the North Korean news, but that doesn't explain the heavy selling in the Aussie or the heavy selling in the euro. That's you know, seems to smack to me that the US dollar's on a bit of a run here, and that can last a little while. Yeah, and that's healthy, because it was hit for like 6 weeks. It's not crazy stuff going on here. Let's see if we missed anything. Big news, not really likely, but I mean, there was some GDP numbers, there was some UK inflation numbers that weren't as strong as some expected, but not dreadful, right? Hawkish comments from Fed Dudley, I did not read those. And the US 10 years rising, oh, that definitely, you know, when something weird's going on, how many times are we going to talk about this? When something weird's going on, oh, the US dollar's really, really strong, and there's nothing really happening, right? Check what's going on with the US 10 years, and it will play the story. And so that's the first thing that they're talking about here, US 10 years rally. And this is literally, I hadn't had a chance to check that today, but I was playing long US dollars anyway. Well, I mean, I was really into this whole long US dollar at the start of Europe, and I saw that sell-off, and this sell-off, I was like, okay, you know, we've got this pretty relentless broad-based US dollar buying going on. Looks like it could be the start of something. Let's not get in the way of it, that's for sure. Oh, what's this? I'm not sure what I did there. So this is, you know, the 10-year in the last 24 hours. This is pretty strong little rally here. 2.3 it has to get exciting. But this is solid. This is solid. Sneaky little bond market. what's the next possible trade and entry? Jesus. If you're not in the market now, you probably just want to hop on a, you know, I mean, you could sell the euro here, right, and put your stop above 70. If it's going to be just a little bit of a couple of second move and nothing happening, you know, if this is just a couple of session rally, then you'll get stopped out, won't lose much. If it's going to keep on going down and it breaks low 117s, you might get 100 pips out of it. Okay, so that's not a bad little risk reward. Aussie dollars broken underneath its 78.50 support, so you could sell it too, put your stop just a back above it. That's not really my favourite. I'm looking to buy the Aussie at some point, so I'm not into that. The pound's got the weak CPI numbers, so you could sell that, Annie, but you've missed a fair bit of pips there. Long dollar yen, it's still got some room to the top side here. Okay, it's got the stock market supporting it. It's very much a pure US dollar play. I like it, but you've given up a lot as well in terms of where you are coming in and where the resistance is. But it's still probably, you know, very likely going up. You could also play long backs with a low stop below the low of the day, and if it gets below the low of the day, then the open here, sorry, you can just close out. Otherwise, you can go for at least 100, maybe more on the top side there. If we continue higher at this point, then the DAX is pretty aggressive when it turns. So it's having a little think now. It's having a think about which way to go. Yeah. But I don't mind that either. And long dollar index is fine too. Yeah, we haven't broken that little bit of a resistance point, and if we do, the market might sit up and take notice. Long euro yen I wouldn't recommend at this point. We entered this yesterday in the stream, so this is yesterday's trade, not today. So long dollar index is also fine. Yeah, and we might get lucky and get our entry point on the dollar CAD later. Maybe we should be careful what we wish for. I'm going to raise that up a little bit. Okay, because I am actually a little concerned we're going to get filled at 127.80. 120 through 128.36. Yeah, we should be happy with that. Yeah. If we get filled there. It's like buying Aussie at yeah, I mean, another trade that makes a lot of sense. Put a buy Aussie here at underneath 78, and you would have your stop underneath 77.50, so you can buy at 77.80, put your stop at 77.40. It's a really high probability trade. Yeah. Why am I buying at 77.80 rather than 77.60? I just don't think it's going to get to 77.60. In fact, I don't even think it's going to get to 80. I'm happy to buy at 7.90. I think they have their fun. Having their fun, the market. US dollar buyers, let them have a couple of days. Join them. Join them. Let them have a couple of days, but probably not buy into a big broad-based US dollar recovery story. That's a bit a ways away yet. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the government change in Australia, you might have heard about this overseas. Please don't read into that. One of our politicians might be New Zealand citizen, and it means that, you know, the government lose balance of power. But, you know, it's just because his dad was born there. He never knew about that being a rule, and it's ridiculous if that brings down the government. Okay, but still they're talking about it. Selling Kiwi, a bit late, nervous, but yeah, probably you can do that too. I mean, look, if I'm waiting to buy the Aussie lower and I'm waiting to sell the dollar CAD higher, then yeah, I mean, in short term, I do think it is probably going to continue, the Aussie down and the dollar CAD up and the Kiwi down. But yeah, the risk on from the change in North Korea sentiment is pretty good to support those commodity currencies eventually. So let's not get too negative on those. Now, US retail sales, okay, they're coming up. Now, US retail sales in general aren't the biggest piece of data ever released, but it could be a bit more important here, given that we're looking for US dollar strength a little bit. The market's in a US dollar strength mode right now. So if something comes along to complement that short-term story that we're in, right, because it's got momentum, then it could exacerbate it, push the euro back, you know, through its lows. And if the euro breaks its lows at the same time, say, you know, 117, the same time that dollar yen breaks 111, if that happens tonight, then you've got yourself a serious US dollar rally, or a more serious US dollar rally that becomes a little bit more dangerous. So this is a precarious time to be a US dollar bull. You might have been caught a little bit napping if you've long and just, she'll be right, you know, mate sort of attitude, which is an attitude I've had before in the currencies, and it's definitely a defensive mechanism, not a good thing. You know, that if she'll be right, the euro go back up. Yeah, probably 9 times out of 10. Still, that 1 time out of 10 kind of cost you a chunk of your account that you didn't really need to be in, because you sort of know right now that the US dollar is pushing. And so if you're hoping for a snap around, it's a hell of a bait and switch if this euro is actually going to rally today. You know, this is that would be a huge surprise to me. So yeah, those data coming out at the start of the US session. The retail sales will be a little bit more important than usual, just because of where the US dollar and what the US dollar is trying to do. And if it supports the narrative, then you'll get that going. The same with like New Zealand dairy prices right now. If they come out weak, ooh, what a time for a weak piece of data for the Kiwi. Kiwi we rocked, and potentially you know, making its next leg lower, below 72.60. 71.80 is a level I've looked at in the past to buy. It's a little bit down here, and it could easily get down there. 71.80 to 71. In a weak, strong US dollar, but also a weak dairy price tonight would help as well. Alright, let's have a look what else is out there. RBA minutes for today coming out. They once again, you know, with a little bit of concern about the Aussie dollar. Nothing new there. Nothing really that market responded to. I suppose there was a small bounce after it came out, mainly because there probably wasn't anything new, negative, and the market was a bit relieved. But yeah, apart from that, after that did come out, we did see some weak Chinese data. That was to me anyway, that was yesterday, sorry. We did see not just weak, sorry, the weak Chinese data yesterday came out with a little bit more weak data today, okay, which is their money supply data. And from what I was reading on this node, I mean, there is a little bit of concern there from the analysts anyway. I mean, it wasn't really put out there in the price action, or over like the Reuters or Forex Live. But those data that came out yesterday was a bit surprisingly weak, and the data that came out today reinforced a view that perhaps the underlying economy was not as stable as we had come to think about the Chinese economy in the last couple of months. So yeah, there's a bit of data that's come out this week that's really started to push back the narrative there. And yeah, so that was the M2 money supply. I'll see if I can find the article I was reading about it. I'll find it sometime. But yeah, it definitely led to a little bit of negativity coming through on the Aussie after it came through. So, do they ever mean anything? No, not really. Yeah, it's I think it was just surprising, you know, that didn't get more attention because they were pretty weak, especially those industrial production numbers, right? Yeah, they're the real numbers. They're the hard numbers. And if they, you know, if anything, they're usually super strong because the government keeps them strong. But yeah, they came in pretty weak, and the investment was really weak yesterday. Retail sales wasn't that. I mean, these numbers are still high, right? We're talking about 10% year-on-year retail sales. That's still high. Just because it wasn't 11% doesn't mean it wasn't high. But industrial production, you know, falling from 7.6% to 6.4%, it's starting to get, you know, down. You know, that's not Chinese numbers that we used to know anyway. And of course, at some point, China's going to be a huge story. You know, whenever the Cinderella story stops, and the tide goes out in China, and they see that they've used trillions and trillions of dollars to stack up companies that should never have been, you know, capitalized again. Of course, there's going to be hundreds and thousands of defaults in China at some point. You can't have, you know, such credit expansion and so many people getting loans without bad companies and bad actors who have no intention of paying back loans, getting loans. And judgment day for China for sure is going to come. Yeah, it's just it's not different. And you can't do what they've done in the last 10 years and not have financial accounting irregularities. Just too much money's moved around. But you don't find out the negative stories until the market's focused on it. So they've done a very good job of keeping everyone at bay, keeping the wolves at bay. And some of my favorite hedge fund guys have been selling, you know, short the yuan for years now, and they're probably getting crunched because the market has not done what they thought was going to happen. The banking sector has not collapsed. You know, China's not been forced to devalue their currency. It's they've done a very good job keeping everyone in control. But yeah, I digress. All I'm saying is that there's a little bit of smoke over there. No one's really watching it. And right now, what we have to be focused on is today is risk is on. Dollar yen's doing well. Stocks are doing well. US dollar's having a pushback, making the retail sales numbers tonight critically important for whether we have a bigger move lower. And you can play it via dollar index, or you can play it by being long the yen crosses or dollar yen, and then we can reevaluate tomorrow. Now I'm going to Singapore for 3 days. I don't know if any of you guys live in Singapore. I'm gonna be there till Sunday. I'll be streaming again next week, but just visiting some big traders over there, and it will be interesting, I suppose, to hear a bit of their perspective on what's happening. I mean, they live in a little isolated island, don't they? You know, but they've got the Chinese exposure, I suppose. But you know, I will be still in the room every now and again, just so I won't be streaming at night, and I'm not sure my laptop can handle the stream, so I won't be looking for that. Euro pound sneaked up to fresh highs there. Okay. But you guys trade safe, and don't listen to anyone and think it's doctrine. Anything can happen, right? The market can turn very quickly as well. Yeah, comments here could come out, or US dollar selling could come back quicker than I currently talked about to you guys. Imagine a weak number tonight in the retail sales. Yeah, potentially this little nascent US dollar rally might be short-circuited as well. So I shouldn't just talk up the price action and what I think could happen. There's also the other side of the story of what also can happen, and that's a strong chance too. I went to Cyprus like every year for a long time, because obviously a lot of brokers have offices in Cyprus, including my broker. But it's yeah, no, Cyprus is terrible. Why would you live in Cyprus? Unless, apart from the industry, right? You don't want to live in Cyprus. It's way too many cats. It's way too hot. They don't have most countries have got some sort of like wild dog situation. Cyprus has got a mad wild cat situation. It's completely out of control. Yeah. Yen Limassol, CPN. Yeah. Well, we'll see. One day I'll be back in Cyprus. But yeah, keep an eye out on the market, you guys. It's not clean, 100%. Anytime there's a big counter trend move, it's always going to get messy, and that's where it gets exciting. Probably sit on your hands though if you're keen to sell some US dollars just for today, or at least until we get to that retail sales number. Alright, best of luck.